Sudden video. I understand this is a bit weird, that's coming out of nowhere, but I am going to be looking at making videos that are a lot shorter and a lot easier to track, and I'm just basically going to be doing things in bite-sized bits. It feels like it's going to be more dealable, so please be patient with me. But I have just got the new Sylvaneth book. I have been going over the lore and observing the changes, and I just kind of want to just talk about the things that have happened. Now, starting this off, yes, I understand it's a bit weird to talk about lore when it comes to Age of Sigmar, when effectively we have a prophecy by someone called Bull, who says that everything's going to go all tits up and everything doesn't matter. Everyone's going to forget about what's happening. But I still can't change the fact that I absolutely love this setting. I was never a person who was playing fantasy. I don't have that ex-girlfriend effect where I'm looking at who's she, oh she ain't shit sort of behavior that people have when it comes to Age of Sigmar. So I got into this setting. I got my very first Warhammer model was the Sylvaneth Spearhead box set back in 2024, I want to say. And since then, I have been obsessed and tried to learn as much as I can about the Sylvaneth. And now that we have this new tome that's come out with all the changes, I have to talk about it. And that's it really when it comes to this. So I just kind of want to talk more about the setting specifically, because the last Path to Glory that we had was actually set in Ghyran, right on the doorsteps of the Sylvaneth's home place. So there's a lot that happened when it came to Path to Glory. Effectively, they were moving across Ghyran, and they also introduced Gelgus Pust, I believe, which was a Blight Lord. And then they also announced Festus was returning to the scene, which obviously is now a model at this point. So it was really, really interesting that really when you're looking at the Path to Glory, there wasn't really much in sense of stakes. We just know that Nurgle was working his way across the realms of Ghyran. Other factions are there, of course, as they always are. But there was no real, like, the world is at stake sort of stuff that's happening. But I just kind of want to kind of get onto what's actually happened more recently since this book, effectively. So since the book, it seems like a big, massive portion of Alarielle's energy has actually been used up. She is now in the dwindling part of her. The way that she seems to work, from what I've seen in books before, is she works herself in seasons. There'll be a point where there's the spring and the summer and the autumn and the winter. And the last time we really dealt with anything that was close to the winter was during the Rise of Chaos, I believe, when she went back into her soul pod. There's a whole book written on this. I can't remember the name at this point in time. She was planted in a grove, and then she was basically grown back, and she was in her full season of war and her war aspect. And now it's gone on to the autumn of reaping. I can't remember the name of it. I don't have the book on me right now. Ironically, it's downstairs. But the idea is that she actually taken back her capital city, which originally I thought was a living city in Ghyran. Obviously, there's Hammerhal Ghyra, and then obviously the Aksha, I believe it is, on the other side of it. But the city itself, that was mainly Sylvaneth, was the living one. There was lots of stuff that was made with the ironbark of the Sylvaneth, and it was architectured that way. Whereas Hammerhal Ghyra was very much Sigmar's part of the area. And now it seems like the Athelweird that was initially in control of Nurgle at this point, they've had a big push, and they've taken over Athelweird again, and they have taken over the place, and she's now back on her throne. It's actually written in the book that she slumps into that chair, completely exhausted with the amount of footholds that she's been able to take over. So it seems like, considering how it looked like in the Blighted Wilds, the Sylvaneth actually did make incredible movements in progress in reclaiming Ghyra. They are now on the back foot. But for some reason, that is as much as she's really got now. The season's passing, and it looks like she's now into a dwindling side of things, and then it will probably go into the winter, which, interestingly enough, when you think about the things that are happening and the things that have been prophesized that are going to be happening in upcoming future editions that we all know about, it would make sense that maybe that when it comes to this next edition, she has passed her autumnal phase and has gone dormant in her winter phase. And that might be a plot point coming up about how Archaon ultimately defeats Sigmar. It does line up, and it does make sense in the writing that the way this is being done, how this could really come about. Still, the thing is, at this point, when it comes to that sort of stuff, which is a whole different conversation itself, Sigmar hasn't really gone back onto the mortal plane. He is, at this point, the only person that seems to be acting from like a god-like perspective. Every other god has a model that turns up on the game board. Sigmar does not. There is kind of like the Celestin Prime, which is basically like the equivalent of like the what's its name? Or is it the Sigmar? No, Sigmar's the metal. The Celestin Prime, though, is pretty much like the Sanguinor, where it's like it's being brought down or something like that. But it's still like we don't have a Sanguinor version for the Sylvaneth on the Gash. They're there. They're fighting next to people. Sigmar's the only one that hasn't. It's a bit of a weird thing. Maybe that's why they're blowing it up. It's a whole different conversation. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to do this quick video, post it out there about a really interesting change in the narrative, at least when it comes to Sylvaneth and the events that are happening in Ghyra that might not exist in the future. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about for now. I'm going to do another video, talk about some individual lore and some developments in some of the lore when it comes to Sylvaneth. Everything will be done in a separate video, but I felt like I could just focus on one thing, talk about one thing, post it out there, and at least it's done. So for now, bye-bye.